10 rap albums that didn't live up to the hype. Like fans of any genre, rap fans tend to breathlessly await the release of their favorite artist's newest album. So it's not uncommon for albums to become massively hyped up by the hip-hop community, as they speculate what the tape might sound like, the message it might try to convey, and the aesthetic it may have. Sometimes, fans may be completely misguided, like in 2017 when Kendrick Lamar fans were certain that a second album named Nation was going to drop shortly after the release of his album Damn. Other times, fans get the album they expected, but find that there's no way it could live up to the standards that were set for it in their minds. Whether it's the fault of the artist or the fans, some albums just completely fall flat. Before we start, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 10. Jesus is King. Kanye West is known for messy album rollouts, changing albums last minute, and perfectionism so intense it sometimes completely rearranges his plans. In September of 2018, West announced an album called Yandi. The album was compared to West's previous work Yeezus, since both referenced West's name mixed with religious figures, and had similar cover artwork. The album was allegedly a reflection on West's reconnection with his faith in Christianity, and several tracks leaked. They were met with much anticipation from West's fanbase, who hoped the album would be a return to form for the Chicago rapper. However, in 2019, West's dive into Christianity led to him feeling isolated in the rap game, and in August, he announced that Yandi would be massively reworked to be Jesus is King, and would only contain religious themes. When the album did release in October of 2019, it was met with lukewarm reception from fans. It featured hardly any elements from the Yandi leak, and fans felt the record isolated anyone who did not practice Christianity. Critics were disappointed in the lyrical quality of the album, calling it rushed, and pointing out West's increasingly corny lyrics. Number 9. Crash Talk. When Schoolboy Q released his album Blank Face in 2016, it was met with widespread critical praise, and was considered to be one of Q's best albums to date. Despite its praise and strong opening week sales, the album did not gain much mainstream traction as one may expect, keeping Q from fully breaking into the eye of the average rap fan. This led to Q releasing 2019's Crash Talk, an album, according to Q, meant to focus more on the positive side of his personality rather than the notorious gritty persona displayed in Blankface. The album was a larger pop effort from Q, and had several high-profile features. However, the album was delayed as Q mourned the loss of his close friend Mac Miller, and the album's second single, Chopsticks, was met with generally negative public reception. This caused the album to lose some momentum as it led up to its release. When it did release in April of 2019, fans voiced their disappointment with the album, calling it bland and safe, citing its lack of impactful songs like its predecessor. Number 8. Nasir. For many, Nas is one of the greatest rappers to ever live, so it was no surprise that Nas stirred up excitement with the track Nas' album Done on DJ Khaled's 2016 release Major Key. However, Nas' album was not actually done, and Kanye West voiced his desire to work with Nas on the upcoming release. This led to West producing Nasir for Nas in 2018 as part of his 7-track album collection. While several of West's 7-track albums received intense praise, most notably his Kid Cudi collaboration Kids See Ghosts, and Pusha T's Daytona, Nasir did not fall into this category. The album was almost universally praised for West's production, but ultimately criticized for Nas's failure to address aspects of his past, including abuse allegations, while trying to espouse a message of equality on the record. Overall, since the album was Nas's first release after a 6-year absence, the general public felt the album was rushed, rather than a thoughtful culmination of Nas's time away. Number 7. Views. Before its release as Views, Drake's 4th studio album was a highly anticipated LP called Views from the Six. In the few years since 2013's Nothing Was the Same, a highly praised album that launched Drake even further into superstardom with its array of hits, Drake had experimented quite a bit with sound. The surprise drop of If You're Reading This, It's Too Late and What a Time to Be Alive found Drake experimenting with more of a trap-influenced sound that was vastly different from his previous work. So when Views finally dropped in 2016, fans were shocked to find that it, for the most part, followed the blueprint of Nothing Was the Same. From its melancholy, cold production by Noah 40 Shabib to its catchy lines about relationship troubles, many felt that the album, which was a whopping 20 tracks, did not challenge Drake to evolve his sound or subject matter. Drake received additional criticism for delving into dancehall music, which some felt was cultural appropriation. Overall, fans had expected Drake's magnum opus, a full reflection on his rise to superstardom and the woes it brings, but felt like they had received Nothing Was the Same Part 2, except the first one did it better. Number 6, For Your Eyes Only. J. Cole is known for his intimate, autobiographical music, calling out places and people by name to better illustrate the rapper's often confusing path as he navigates fame and explores the human condition. He's also known for making some of the most accessible and catchy rap hits in recent years, like Power Trip or Role Models. So when For Your Eyes Only released in December of 2016, fans were confused. First off, the album was a slow burn, with few radio-worthy records and mostly relaxed, lethargic bars over slow beats. Secondly, the album didn't seem to be about Cole at all, but rather the tale of a fictional character's life as he's born and dies in the ghetto. Though the album was generally positively received by critics, some fans were disappointed by the album and Cole's turn away from radio-friendly music. For an artist who had developed a reputation as a commercially bankable rapper, For Your Eyes Only was an experimental and risky move. Fans criticized the album for being slow-paced, integrating too much singing, and poorly examining the mundane, such as in the song Folding Clothes. The criticism did not seem to faze Cole, who continued to experiment with his sound on his next release, KOD. Number 5, The Carter 5. The Carter 5 was originally supposed to be released in 2014 as Lil Wayne's final album, but due to contractual problems, was shelved. During its time on the shelf, the album became something of a legend in the hip-hop community, speculated to be Wayne's masterpiece. The hype for the album became so intense that nothing could be lived up to it. When the album released, it immediately went number 1, sold a whopping 480,000 units its first week, and had the second largest streaming week for an album of all time. And yet, despite this, many fans felt let down by the album. The most common criticisms was its length, many suggesting that the album could have been a classic if it had been trimmed down by a few tracks. Wayne also found himself in the middle of some controversy when it was revealed that the rapper didn't know who the late XXXTentacion was until X's hook was added to the track Don't Cry. Despite this, the album was generally positively reviewed by critics, but it wasn't the internet-breaking album that fans had been anticipating for some years. Number 4, Honcho Jack, Jack Honcho. When Travis Scott and Quavo joined forces to create the rap super duo Honcho Jack, fans everywhere believed that it was impossible for them to miss. In 2017, Migos were at the height of their career, enjoying the success of Bad and Bougie, and Travis Scott was working on Astroworld, the album that would launch him permanently into the public eye. So when two innovative, massively successful rappers join forces, it should be a guaranteed hit, right? When Honcho Jack, Jack Honcho released in December of 2017, it had a strong commercial performance. However, many fans and critics felt that the album was lackluster. Neither artist seemed to take any risks, resulting in a safe album that was fine sonically but easily forgettable. Many fans critiqued the chemistry between the two artists, stating that it felt more like a series of guest features than a true collaborative effort. Some fans even speculated that the two didn't spend much time in the studio together, that the project was instead created mostly through back and forths on email, leaving the album lacking any sort of cohesion. Number 3, Culture 2. After Donald Glover shouted out Migos at the Golden Globes in 2017, it felt like Migos were everywhere. From the constant radio play of their song Bad and Bougie, their innumerable guest features, and the positive reception from the album Culture, they were having a monumental year. In 2018, the group released Culture 2, the second album in the supposed trilogy. The album was a massive 24 tracks long, and was plagued by release delays. While all 3 singles from the album peaked within the top 10 of the Billboard 100, the album disappointed many fans. Migos had been everywhere for the past year, and this came back to haunt them. Fans felt as if the trio had done little to evolve their sound, while also losing some of the authenticity and rawness from their original releases, in exchange for a more polished, radio-friendly sound. The oversaturation of Migos' sound was a definite contributing factor in this sentiment. Despite this, Culture 2 managed to outsell Culture by 60,000 units in its first week, but that's only because, as a streaming boosting strategy, the album had 24 short-in-length tracks. Number 2, Revival. The second half of Eminem's career had been fueled by self-doubt. After taking the world by storm with his entire discography, Eminem set the bar for himself extraordinarily high, and had trouble meeting these standards, as he struggled with drug use, the death of his close friend Proof, and his ever-increasing fame. When Eminem released the Marshall Mathers LP 2 in November of 2013, he saw a more positive reception to the album than he had with his previous 3. The album featured plenty of nostalgic throwbacks to his old sound, but also boasted a number of pop features, such as Skylar Grey and Nate Ruess from Fun. When M released Revival 4 years later, he tried to replicate his formula, integrating heavy rock sounds and pop features from the likes of Ed Sheeran and Pink. The album was met with generally unfavorable reviews by fans, who believed it was a transparent attempt at mainstream appeal and lacked focus. Other criticisms included that many of the songs were grating, with Eminem's focus on technical structure ruining the sonic quality of the album. The album even received a not good from internet critic Anthony Fantano, but M quickly won over the general public again with his release of Kamikaze, plus his MGK diss. Number 1. The Big Day. Chance the Rapper broke into the game as underground hip-hop's favorite example of a DIY, independent artist making it big. Chance had developed a reputation around his love for drug use and dislike for authority, but when his daughter was born in 2015, Chance found his way back to his faith in Christianity, leading him to rebuke this lifestyle. Some fans were upset to see Chance swift away from his earlier themes in his project Coloring Book, but with the co-sign from Kanye West and the several huge hits in 2016, Chance skyrocketed to fame, finding himself as a household name and superstar, sponsored by companies like Kit Kat. Before he released The Big Day, technically his debut studio album, fans anticipated a highly reflective, cohesive work that combined Chance's old lyrical ability with the polished sound of Coloring Book. What they got instead was a meditation on his wedding day. Fans found the album to be lacking depth, as it seemingly centered solely around Chance's relationship with his wife, and even then only brushed the surface of said topic. The album was heavily criticized for what was interpreted to be lazy lyricism and a complete abandonment for Chance's introspective moral compass, in exchange for songs that would trend easily on TikTok. What Chance failed to realize is that kids on TikTok can't buy concert tickets, and he ultimately had to cancel a 30-city tour, spanning the United States and Canada. What was the most disappointing album on this list? Did we forget any projects? Let us know in the comment section, and before you leave, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel.